Ensign Blue Mage Honor Wren. She is a hard-nosed, tough young woman. Um, Going back, it's always about, trauma, trauma as a young girl. And she runs away from home when she's really young. And this is all just all backstory. You don't necessarily know this until later on in the book, but so she is very fiercely independent, doesn't need anybody, doesn't trust anybody, and she is going to be the best mage ever. She's gonna climb through the ranks of the Navy in her mind, and she's gonna basically make herself the admiral. And but you don't know this. You actually meet her when she's being blown off the deck of the ship. Right. Talk about like diving right into your story, right? Literally, she's diving right into the ocean. So that's where we meet her. The world that I created for this one is very, yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean type of style. So the hemispheres I have are separated by this massive wall of water. It's called the Dread Wall. And so right around the equator, there's a massive wall of water, but it's not a waterfall, it's a water up, right? So the water goes up with magic and gravitational forces because there's three moons. So, but lots of magic. So that has basically kept these two hemispheres separated for hundreds, maybe thousands of years. But it's crumbling, it's starting to fall. And so now ships can get in between. And of course, they're going to fight, they're going to, try to get territory and try to take treasure and plunder. And that's where we meet Honor, is in the midst of a sea battle. And the enemy is just clocking her ship. They're just destroying it. And they use what they've been using is this ancient type of magic called chimeric. It's kind of like a magic powder, um, and it burns. It does not stop burning. It continues to burn. So they have laced their cannonballs with this, and so it's not fair, but it's effective. And so her ship sinks. The enemy ship floats away. Bye bye, and she is left floating in the ocean with a plank of wood, but there's chimeric all over her skin and it's beginning to work its way into her hands and it's eating away her fingers and leaving tendon and bone. And she's like, I'm dead, I'm toast, I'm just kill me now, basically. And she's adrift for several days until the ship of spells finds her and pulls her out of the water. So that's where we meet. She is amazing. She's a she because we have a way of just referring to inanimate objects as she's, right? So, and ships have always been referred to as she. Um, I'm a Trekkie, right? I grew up on TOS, original Star Trek, right? And Kirk always said, he loved the Enterprise. He loved the Enterprise. She was his first love. And I always thought, well, what if she loved him back? And so then you see, right? You see Pirates of the Caribbean and Jack Sparrow loves the Black Pearl. What if she loved him back? So I've always had this idea of a sentient ship that is not in love with, but has this protective, I love my captain, right? And that was always a bit of a brain tickle for me. So when I set about trying to write this book, it's like she's there, she is all there, and this is going to be the setup for that. And so you need an unusual captain, right, who is going to be okay with having a ship with these kind of very very powerful feelings for him, but you also need a really quirky crew that's going to be okay with that, right? Like, hey, we want to go that way, but the ship wants to go that way. How are you gonna handle that? And then as a writer, how are you going to bring the reader on board, right? So that's where you get your fish out of water POV character of Honor Wren being literally pulled onto the deck. And this is not her world, but it's a really interesting world. And Honor is all about the magic. She wants more magic. Like I said earlier, she wants to be the best mage, and boy, what she could learn on the deck of this ship. That's why she wants to stay. Kier Gavriel Thanavar. He's a man of secrets, broody, because it's romantasy, he's tall, dark, and handsome. But yeah, he's very elusive to pin down. He's used to being obeyed. Nobody questions his orders. because he's also got the ship on his side too. So, you cross him, the ship's going to throw you overboard. But yeah, he has an agenda, and the ship is fully on board with the agenda, but so is the crew. The crew knows what he's doing, and the crew is fully supportive. Honor, it takes her a while to figure this out and get to the bottom of what's going on. But the crew itself was so much fun to write. Um, and what I do is like I sometimes I'll find like an actor or a role or something, and that becomes the character. They eventually take on a life of their own, but they start somewhere, right? So the quartermaster um, is Smoke Oakham, and it's Peter Dinklage. It's Tyrion Lannister, right? Like, and nobody has been able to take away that is Smoke. He talks like Smoke. I mean, Smoke talks like Peter Dinklage as Tyrion. It's just all him. It was totally based on him, and and that's beautiful because it just flies. The Doctor is a fawn, so a little like Narnia-esque, right? These are not just mythical creatures; they are species. They are people. So you've got fawns and minotaurs and harpies, cyclopes, and they're all part of the crew. So the Doctor is a fawn. And again, like I said, I'm a Trekkie. So I'd been watching Discovery, and Doug Jones plays, he's captain now, but Saru, but he also was the fawn in Pan's Labyrinth. So that became the Doctor. He's lovely, very gentle, kind, very noble soul. And he becomes a bit of her rock for a while because he's very accepting of her. Smoke, not so much. The captain, we know, absolutely not. Um, there is the first mate, Devon and Farr. He's a bit of a scoundrel, but he's fun-loving and he's a big-hearted guy, and he also becomes her best friend. Um, I don't really have an actor in mind for that. I see his face, but he took on a whole role of his own. And he also has a secret, and he ran away to join the Ship of Spells, and you find out why later on. But he and the captain are super good friends, and then he becomes Honor's really good friend. So there's very much a camaraderie on this ship, but it's not easy. It's not an easy one camaraderie because there's lots of people on the ship that don't want her there. She kind of comes in and disrupts the flow of things, right? So taking over positions that other people were gunning for, and so she's not terribly popular at the beginning. The characters came in and some of them hated her and some of them didn't. And I'm like, okay, where is this going to go? And I really wanted it to be organic. So by the end, like the one person that she's really, really butting heads with, other than the captain, of course, but this one crew member that they are literally like they're murder boarding each other. Like they're really not having it. By the end, they share a glass, but it's earned for both their on both their parts. So but that was very much pantsed. It was like, oh, I'm gonna write this and just see where that goes and pepper it in, and okay, this is where we pay it off, right? So it was nice and organic that way.